take a look at how to sew the pieces together. Here's a couple of garter stitch strips that do not have the slip stitch selvage. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew into the garter bumps. If you take a look closely, you'll see that there are some that point one way and some that point the other way. I call these smiles and frowns. This is important because to get an invisible seam, you need to pick smiles on one piece and frowns on the other. It doesn't matter which is which, so long as you're consistent on the pieces. So here, on this piece, I'll pick a frown. And that's, as I'm looking at this, from my point of view, this is a frown. This is a smile. So I'm going to put my tapestry needle with my seam yarn. Notice I'm starting one from the edge. I come back and clean up the edge with the tail when I'm done. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go under a frown on this side and pull the yarn straight through like that. Now, you might be tempted to try to get two with one swipe of your needle. Don't do that because that'll stretch the stitches out of shape. So I did a frown. So here I need to do a smile. So you see I'm going to have to be a little bit in from the edge because the one on the edge is a frown. So I'm going to go in 1/2 of a stitch. So I'm going to go in to the smile. And I actually keep saying this to myself over and over again. Now that was this row, now this row, frown. And now I'm going to go on this side and get a smile. And just keep going back and forth, frown, smile, frown, smile. This side, there's the smile, there's the frown. And I'll do one more, then I'll show you how to tighten it up so it disappears. And on this side, smile. And about every inch or so, what you want to do is you want to just tug on that yarn. That yarn's going to get straight, and see how it pulls everything together. And it's virtually invisible. Now, of course, you would be sewing with one of these colors to match your yarn, so it would be totally invisible. But that's what happens. And see how it pulls the smile and the frowns so that they overlap, and that's what makes it invisible, and it's totally flat on the top. On the bottom there's a little bit of a ridge, but it's not bad because we did it as close to the edge as we could to get the frown. And in this case the frown's right on the edge, the smile's a tiny bit in, but we picked the closest one to the edge. So that's how you do two pieces of garter stitch. So now I'm going to see how easy it is to pull it out if you make a mistake. So that's a good point to that seam too. But at any rate, that is how you do that. So now let's take a look at how do we sew a piece of garter stitch and stockinette stitch together, or two pieces of stockinette stitch, either way. In the pattern, we don't have two pieces of stockinette to go together. We have garter and stockinette. So we're going to pick the frown on here in this case because, well, this doesn't have smiles and frowns, right? It has V's. So we're not going to have to worry about that. So we'll go as close to the edge as possible. So we'll pick our frown. And now what do we do on the stockinette piece since it doesn't have smiles and frowns? Well, there are purl bumps on stockinette. They're just on the back. So what we do is we're going to pick a column between the V's, and I pick as close to the edge as I can get. That's easy to sew, and to me that's usually one full stitch in. It's really easy to find. And what you're going to do here is you're going to pick in between the V's, and if you stretch it open you can see those bars are in there, and I'm going to get one of those bumps from the back and I'm going to go under it. So I'm still getting the bumps. I just have to pick them from the back of the work between the stitches. So frown again, and then on this side going to look for a bump. Now when you're going around the curve at some point, you may have to get more bumps on your outside piece than the inside. So on the garter stitch piece you would just go under 2 bumps like that. I'm not going to do it now because we're sewing a straight piece. But if your stockinette stitch piece is the outside and you need to go under 2 bumps, you just look there and find 1, 2 and go under. Now, sometimes in instructions for sewing seams, it tells you can go under 2 bumps. I really, or just for a straight seam, I don't like to do that because it's not as clean. So there you go. There is the stockinette and garter stitch put together, and it just pulls the edges right together. And again, you might see a couple blips of my green yarn, but in a real rug you would be using a color to match one of your pieces, or you might have multicolor and then it won't matter. So that's garter and stockinette.